And sure enough, within a couple weeks, I noticed that like my attitude just started changing. I was like, wow, there's something, really, really powerful here.
In my experience, making music with other people is like one of the most profound ways to like, I don't know.
Oh, for sure. It's the ultimate team exercise.
I didn't see there was no theft. There was no violence whatsoever. There were no cops. There was no need for nothing happened bad.
Yeah.
The whole time. It was just like everybody taking care of each other.
Music isn't just background noise. It's the soundtrack of our lives. It's what fuels our best moments and shapes our most powerful memories. And it can even help us shift our emotions in an instant. But how often do we stop and think about the power that music has over us? In this episode, we're diving into the impact of music, how it connects us, moves us, and even helps us become the best version of ourselves. Whether you use music for motivation, healing, or nostalgia, there's no denying its power. So how can we become more intentional with the music we listen to? And what happens when we align our soundtrack with a life we want to create? Let's get into it and see what happens.
I'm your host, Clint Baggett, and I'm here with Shannon and Shane, who are my co-hosts. And today, we wanted to talk about the role that music plays in our lives.
Which is clearly a pretty powerful role. I mean, music is something that can inspire us and encapsulate like moments in our life. Like, there are certain times in my life that I can remember when I hear certain music, certain songs these days, like I remember the exact moment of my life when it was happening. So it like encapsulates like the history of it. But, but like, sometimes people like want certain songs on before they go into the to the battle or to the into the game or whatever. And I mean, I think it's the most powerful form of communication. I just really do.
It is. There's deep connection to memories, to feelings, to emotions, so much. And so I think that's why we want to talk about it. As we're trying to crack the code to living the best versions of ourselves. It's something that I realized years ago that, in a really down and hard time for me, the music that I was listening to was very angry and very upset. And I asked myself, I'm like, what if I just changed this music? What if I just started trying to listen to something different? And so I built a couple playlists with songs that I knew that kind of made me happy or felt better, and had this more uplifting quality to it. And I just started putting them on repeat and playing them more often. And sure enough, within a couple weeks, I noticed that like my attitude just started changing. I was like, wow, there's something, really, really powerful here. And then, just kind of an odd anecdote to throw into this, just the spectrum of, importance to sometimes just trivial. There's a song by Richard Marx, that one, wherever you go, whatever okay, right. So whenever I hear that song, I go back to a very specific memory of walking through a JCPenney's with my mom as she was shopping. And I heard that song for the first time. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a pretty cool song, but that was the first time I heard it was playing in a JCPenney. And like every time I hear that song, I go back to that moment in my childhood. Even though the moment holds no other relevance than that's when I heard that song.
Yeah, it's makes me think of I was in high school and I was doing an orchestra trip, and I'd grown up on like music my dad played. It's like old country and classic rock and obviously a ton of classical music or whatever. But on that orchestra trip, I was introduced to Metallica and Primus and Korn. And it blew my mind. I will tell you right now, there is a good chunk of classical musicians who are just heavy metal lovers. It's so similar, right? Like if you go back and you listen to like Beethoven was a badass, and so is Tchaikovsky and Wagner.
Totally.
So like, yeah, it just makes me think like, and I've been a huge fan ever since, but that trip like changed my life and like the trajectory of like kind of music that I listen to. Do you have anything like that?
Well, Yeah,
Like, I
and
mean, Richard Marx, yes, but like,
yeah, but I want to add on like to kind of what you're saying, just a special note, like, so interesting that you hear that kind of music and it takes you to a very fond memory. You know what I mean? And it's a really happy place. You know, you were on a trip and all this kind of stuff. And I realized I was also listening when I needed to change my music. I was listening to really like, angry and painful music, but I had started listening to that because it resonated with the pain and trauma I was experiencing at that point in my life. And whenever I would
yeah,
listen to those songs, I'd go back to the pain and trauma and I'd be reliving it over and over and perpetuating my anger and upset. I think about it, it's kind of like in relationships, like, it's like it's always this like Russian roulette kind of thing. If you play a love song and you're new to like, dating someone and you're like, because if you play that love song and, two guys before that, someone else played that love song, they're like, oh my God, I hate that. So, like, it's really you got to be careful with it because there's certain songs that remind you of certain people that you may or may not want to go back to the memories of that person. So it's not just like the content of the song. I think that's important, the message of the song, but I do think it ties in heavily to what is that memory or experience. It's why I like to listen to a lot of newer music. I like to find new songs because it helps me, like, as I'm progressing through life and things are getting better, I'm earmarking it with new music and going, oh yeah, I like when I heard the Power of Now or The Power Is Here Now by Alexia Chelin. That was a super special time in my life. I woke up in the middle of the night, the song's playing, and it's incredible, and it was exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. Those words were like affirmations into my soul. And so every time I hear that song, I go back to that kind of blessed moment, right?
yeah. How about you, Shane?
Well, that definitely, I love that happens. But for me, like, I'm always like procuring the playlist of my life through music. But then also, like, if I can be like, yo, check this song out. Or if somebody's like, yo, check this song out, and it just happens to be a song that I really love, and I'm like identifying with, I'm feeling the song. And then I meet somebody else that like loves the song, like my head will explode. Like, oh my God, I have a new best friend. Like sometimes just the stuff, like I always ask my kids, like, hey, like what's your top 3 songs you're listening to right now? Because it tells me a lot. Like this music can tell us a lot about each other. And so I look at the music in the past and I so much awesome music all the way back to like Tchaikovsky, like and Schubert and Schumann, like, you know, and then Clint and I went through like, back in Houston in the industrial, like EDM music and like, you know,
Simply Jeff and Bad Boy Bill, and yeah,
yeah.
I've
But I
listened
mean,
across the spectrum. Eminem, Metallica,
totally.
Guns N' Roses, Whitesnake. Like, I mean, I've listened to just about everything out there.
And the beautiful thing is like what people can appreciate is like when you really understand music, like I can play music, all kind of stuff. Uh, when you really appreciate the artistry behind it and all the everything that like Billy Corgan of like the Smashing Pumpkins, like there's a lot of stuff going on in some of this stuff. And Beethoven created some of the greatest music ever, like when he couldn't hear anymore, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
and and it transcends all socioeconomic, religious, like cult, cultural, like origin perspective. Like Bob Marley, like and in his life, he said that the album Exodus was to he wanted to cross everybody's path forever, basically with the message. And it's all about the message. Like that's pretty powerful things to say. And I don't care who you are, like most everybody likes Bob Marley. I mean,
Yeah, and
yeah.
in his movie, The
Especially
One
that
Love
album.
is, yeah, it's
yeah.
such a powerful story. Like, I heard the movie got some criticism for, whatever reason, but to me, it's not about video production quality. I mean, that's just an incredible story. What him and his friends went through, and more so, like, I found myself just like really becoming more aware of what was happening in Jamaica, or during that time before even I was born, and like the stuff that country was going through, but they, they're very adamant. Music can save us. It creates this amazing social connection. I was thinking about this, like, the progression of music when I was growing up, we had at first cassettes, and then it went to CDs, and then,
Totally.
we had your mixtapes and
8-track.
stuff.
We had 8-track, dude.
Yeah, 8-track, exactly. And what happened is, only a few select artists that were getting really big and could get in with a production label could really put songs out. So following an artist was kind of like following a genre, because that artist typically defined their self and their uniqueness. And now, you have, the genres are so rich. There's so much content. It's hard to know everything. It's hard to do this. But yet there are still songs that kind of resonate. And it used to be like, if you heard a song and you heard someone else listening to it, we were talking about this a minute ago, like you could, it was like the song recommending the person, right? You're like, oh, you have that connection, is it harder in today's generation to make those musical connections? I don't know, right? What do you guys think?
I don't think it is. I mean, just look at Elliot, right? 10-year-old little girl, and she's a huge Swiftie,
Yeah,
like
that's
Taylor
true.
Swift, like fills up stadiums with little girls her age and younger, and like women my age, all because it's music that tells a story that like you can relate to. Like it brings, like,
Totally.
I think music still brings a lot of people together, I mean,
I
like,
think it's
even,
the most powerful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it is too. Like, I mean, even separate from that, like if you go and you look at like some of these documentaries about people who have Alzheimer's, who like maybe previously like played the piano or were opera singers, and they will have no clue where they are or who anybody is around them, but if they play them music or they put the instrument in front of them, they can do it like that,
Totally.
and they will sing, and it's there, it is so ingrained in them that even when they know nothing else, they still have that, and it will put them back into a very specific time and place and give them clarity in that moment, which that's just crazy, that music
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah. And culturally,
So
like, and you look, like, indigenous cultures have had music, like they've got their own
always.
songs. And like one thing that's really interesting that I'm not seeing is there's no more like song services. Like people don't get together and sing. And I know growing up in church, like, you get together, and like my favorite part of church every time was always just the song
Is
service.
that old
Like the
school
longer it
organ?
would go, like the
Yeah,
happier I
yeah.
was, right?
They don't
Like,
even use the organ anymore, dude. Like back in the day, they used the organ. You know what I'm saying? So like, really
yeah,
felt
yeah,
like, I don't know.
Oh
yeah.
my God, it was used to be so embarrassing in church because my grandma was always the loudest singer, and it was just like you just have to like, oh my God, grandma,
Oh,
you're too loud.
I think everybody experienced that, but
Yeah.
Where you do the loud mumble singing because you don't want to be off key, and you're like,
I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, but the
Thank
irony
God
is
for the
like,
hymnal books.
I don't care where I am though. If I hear Amazing Grace, I'm getting teary eyed and fired up.
yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like I hear
I've got
that, and like,
some like that.
yeah. I mean, uh, like, this music is so powerful. Like, it's a difference sometimes for me. Like between just having like a terrible day, like I don't know, between having like Bob Marley, everything's going to be all right. Or I spend a lot of time listening to the Dirty Heads. I'm not going to lie, and because I mean, I came out of like late '90s. It was like hip hop was coming online. It was like punk rock back in Texas, like electronic music, and then honky tonk, and then as irony would have it, like I grew up in band. So your understanding, Shannon, of like classical music, I love classical music, especially the reed instruments. But and just being able to play music and stuff like that, and it's just been such a part of my, I don't know, like like the theme track to my life, and I think that we all kind of have that. But I also think that we, you know, focusing on the most optimal music is the way to like keep our minds, our heads, our chins up and keep us going, with a smile.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, when you're stuck in a mood or something like that, you can put on certain music and find yourself drawn to the energy of that. Like I even for athletes and stuff like that, or people are just jogging, right? they'll have a jogging playlist because when they put that in, it puts them in that flow mode. You know what I mean? That's their energy song. And whenever they're going to hear those songs, even if they were to sit on the couch and put that music on, I bet it'd be hard to sit there, right? Like you're going to hear that music and you're going to want to get up and move, you know? So it's fascinating, right? And it's like we all know it, we're all doing it, but I don't feel like we always just kind of like draw it out and go, okay, what is this connection? Like, you know, what is the magic of it? What is there? You know, can you use music even therapeutically? And for me, the answer is yes. Go ahead, Shane.
I love that, dude. Because music is therapeutic, and they have identified, like, I don't know, you can fact check me or whatever, but that the frequency of some of the music that we listen to actually harmonizes like wah 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 to our brain. You know what I'm saying? And while that's happening, like it's like a, you know, neuroplasticity kind of stuff. It's, you know, if we're listening to like music that's really like we're vibing with, and it's like it's changing us.
Well, I mean,
Like,
that's what Shannon was just giving evidence of, right? With Alzheimer's
exactly.
patients, you know, put them in front of the music and all of a sudden things change. They go back. It starts to recode certain things in their brain. And you know, the studies on just vibration and, you know, what that does, you can speak to a plant with love, right? And you can just be kind to a plant and it will grow better. There's like so many scientific tests on this, right? Like they're just speaking, and those are just words, you know, and music has words and tones and rhythms and
They've done
all that kind of
studies where
stuff.
plants do better with music as well. Like, and
There
it
you
doesn't
go.
matter what
Yeah.
kind. They they give
Oh,
the
really?
same
Yes, for
exponential
sure.
growth, whether it's classical or heavy metal or country, it doesn't matter. Plants will grow better to any kind of music rather than in silence.
And I
That's
think
so
the
freaking awesome.
it
Yeah.
is, dude. This is proven. And I think the common denominator is that for all of us, all of life, because I've noticed that the birds around us or the dogs or whatever, the common denominator is the quality of the music being played. Seriously.
Mhm.
If it's really good music, like all of a sudden, like all the birds are coming by and like the dogs are rolling around in the grass and like, you know, like everybody's smiling and, you know, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, and sometimes I have to be, I'll listen to something for a second and be like, okay, you know what? This is not going to perpetuate the outcome that would be most optimal for me right now. So I'm going to just hit next and keep going, you know?
Yeah,
But
absolutely, dude. And I'm glad you said that because it's kind of what was on my mind too. And it's like I don't know how to like say this. Like I'm real picky about music and like, but it's more about my mood, right? I'm like, if I'm going to listen to this, like I want it to add to the experience of the moment that I'm having right
totally,
now. And if
totally.
the, you know, I've heard some songs, and believe me, there are some beautiful love songs out there. Sam Smith, Dean Lewis. I mean, just artists that are incredible, and they're bringing out things, beautiful songs. But sometimes if the song is just kind of sad and a little bit depressing, even though it's beautiful and I want to listen to it, like I won't just listen to it a lot, because if it starts to make me feel kind of like, fuck man, this sucks, you know, like then I realize, okay, that's it's not putting me where I want to be. So I'm just going to appreciate the beauty of it. I'm going to love the song, you know, and I'm going to love this artist for this expression that they had, that they gave, you know what I mean? And I'm certain that for someone out there who just needs that companion like feeling, so that goes, God, that person gets my pain. They understand that pain I'm feeling right now. Because I know for me, the reason I started listening to a lot of, you know, sadder, darker songs is I felt so alone. I felt like, I'm like, I don't think anybody understands the hurt that's inside me. I don't think anybody understands that I'm crying out and that, you know, I feel broken. I just want someone to feel it. And then I'd hear this song, you know, and I'm like, oh man, they get me. You know, like, and it
Totally.
feels connected for a moment, right?
Yeah.
There is that connectivity part of it that's just imminent. I mean, the fact that I grew up like on honky tonk and classic rock and like underground electronic music and classical music and hip hop, uh, for sure. And that was a lot. desert country. Yeah. But also honky tonk, a little bit different. And
Yeah.
dude, it changed who I am. And like, dude, because I would go to like all of these spots, like, dude, like when I was on in the 90s or whatever, I would go to like little country bars out in Texas and like dance with like the cowgirls, or I mean, whatever. I'm sure they didn't like rope cattle or whatever, but they were like country girls better. Anyway, on like, Wednesday night, like doing the two step, and then like Friday or Saturday night in like downtown Houston being like the craziest, most underground club ever, like where there's like people with like mohawks and like suspenders and like dreadlocks and like, every, and like where it's like hip hop and like electronic music and like every single kind of life combined, just like pumping like till the sun came up.
Yeah, man, and like you're right, music draws people together, talking about going to clubs and stuff. And what's interesting too, if you want to watch the crowd that music draws, right? Like, if it ends up being a violent crowd, it's kind of violent music, and it made me think about like, just the power of us to come together and everything it does. And Shannon, you had showed me that Louis Capaldi. I heard his songs and I'm like, God, I love this guy's voice. It's so beautiful. And like, I didn't even realize the guy had Tourette's, and there's this video of him coming together in front of his stage and he's getting up there to sing and his Tourette starts acting up and he's like, he locks up and he can't sing. And his audience, his fans like finish the song with him and for him. And he's like up there crying and he's trying his hardest to like get his words out. And they're just carrying him right through the end of the song, like, and cheering. And I'm watching the video and I'm like crying. I'm like, it's so beautiful.
You can see it in real time, them raise him up. Yeah. Because he was struggling and he looked defeated, and they came in and the whole audience starts singing louder and louder, and he just sort of gives into it. And then you can see him like raised up and lifted up by this audience that is his. They just repaid the favor, though. They're there to be raised up by his music, and then they flipped it back on him and raised him up.
Help me find that on YouTube, and when we post up in the description so everybody listening can see it, let's make sure we'll throw that link right into the YouTube description in case anybody wants to watch it. Beautiful video. If you want just a glimpse of humanity at our best, like for 34 minutes, like absolutely, it's incredible.
You know what that reminds me of too is that video that went viral of the Green Day concert, where like there was a camera from like the back of the stage, from like behind the drum set, and like this massive audience, wherever they were, thousands and thousands of people were waiting for Green Day to come on. So they were playing background music, and Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen came on, and the whole audience is singing, and this camera just recorded like thousands of people sitting there singing along together, just kind of killing time and just like belting it out. It's beautiful.
I have seen that. Yeah. Send that over. Any others? Like, we definitely add those into the descriptions. These are the kind of things that, we need to see. I think it's so important. And it's why I think all of us really want to talk about this. Is there's a lot of crap going on right now. You know what I mean? And we're not ignorant to it. We're not being willfully ignorant of it, but we also have to kind of remember that, humanity's made it through a lot of hard times, and we've went through a lot of difficult things, and we've grown as a species. God thank, there's so many things that, used to happen 1,000 years ago that, there's no way it would go by today, and we continue to get better, and it happens in fits and stops. And it's important to stop every once in a while and go, hey, wait a second, we're not all bad. And we don't, we do amazing things. So yeah, definitely. I love collecting those kind of things and sharing them out.
And I think just music is a way that we can like find common denominators between each other. Like there is a music for those moments of pain, and just like there's a music for every single thing that you've ever felt in that moment in your entire life for the rest of your life. And for the rest of your life, every single moment that the music you've heard while that moment was happening, you'll remember for the rest of your life. Like smell is another thing. Like for me, like I can smell a certain thing and be like, oh my gosh, this smells like my great grandmother's like basement, out in the country. Like it's weird how our brain works like that. But
Yeah.
but there's so much music out there, and to me at this point, like I really love the actual composition of music part of it. Like you said, Metallica, I love that, Shannon, and Tchaikovsky, like um, you know. But then like there's been like punk rock bands, like I don't know, like Minor Threat, like super, like the synchronicity and the intensity that can be provoked by certain kind of like music, like electronic music. For me, really does it. I love to dance. I've been dancing forever, like dancer, and like the kind of dancer
Me
that
too,
seriously
man. I'm gonna be doing some dancing next week.
you are, dude. Like dancing like Billy Idol seemed like he just didn't try, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about.
So since you mentioned it, why don't you tell everybody what you're doing next week?
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so next week I am going to be loading up and heading up to Nevada to go to Black Rock City and join all the fun and festivities that is Burning Man. I'll be up there with Camp Sonder, led by Eris Bragas and crew. Just an amazing group of people with a tea house offering, which is really it's beautiful. They have a nice, cool place for people who are wandering around Burning Man to come and sit down and take a moment out of the intensity and just decompress and be with people in a calm, loving kind of environment. They also play music too. It's just soulful, good, uplifting, positive music. The group at Saunders, they're amazing. Every single one of them. And Jane, you met them. That's who we were with at the Lunar Eclipse Festival. Oh, go ahead, Shan.
Oh, I was just going to say, the first time I had heard about Burning Man and you were talking about going to Burning Man, I don't know why, but it did not register with me that it would be so full of music and different types of music. And then when I started looking into it and you were telling me about it, it was like, it is kind of in its own way like a music festival. It's not it's more like what electronic music and DJs and stuff like that, but it's still
music's
all over.
Yeah, it's massively part of it. So once you get there, we're going to get there with the build crew. It's going to be wide open desert. We put our stuff down, we start building our tents and the structure for the rest of the camp to show up, and getting everything ready. But once it gets in a little bit, even during build, people will start playing music, right? Someone's going to start kicking it up. And it hits this point by the time that, the official gates open, the music just goes 24/7 constantly. And there's like nowhere to escape it. You got to have earplugs, and you have to take special steps to just like understand that you're about to be inundated with every kind of musical performance you can imagine nonstop. I've seen, singers out there on the stage, country and Western music. There's DJ music. Everything's happening out there, including all the art displays, the infrastructure, and then just people offering cool services, meditation camps, cooking camps, people teaching stuff and showing how to do crafts. And yeah, then there's a whole lot of crazy other things that are also out there. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I just like, I mentioned infrastructure. I want to bring this out because like it's what got me excited about Burning Man. It still gets me excited. I love all the other stuff too, the music, but also is just the organization of this thing, right? I was reading a book by Jamie Will called Stilling Fire. It's an amazing book. If anyone hasn't checked that out, you should check it out for certain. But he just talks about kind of the evolution of mankind and how we seek to get in this flow state and all the things that goes on. But he does this segment in the book about Burning Man, and he mentions in there that when there were hurricanes in like near Hurricane Katrina and stuff in the panhandle of Texas and Louisiana there, that FEMA reached out to the organizers of Black Rock City and Burning Man and said, will you come help us? Because they needed to build refugee camps. And so they knew that Burning Man knew how to build cities, overnight, essentially.
Overnight.
How to set up the infrastructure, how to get all the resources, how to plan for an influx of thousands of people in a temporary functioning way. So, what they pull off from an infrastructure perspective is amazing out there. And you meet designers, engineers, sometimes military commanders go out there. He mentions in the book that Larry Page was chosen as the CEO of Google because he had also been to Burning Man. So, the whole thing is just kind of a fantastic infrastructure. Go ahead, Shane.
It's outside of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's panoramic view outside of the box. Every single perspective and perception, like no judgment, and everybody bringing something to give, and also looking out for each other. Like no crime. Like it's like a. I mean,
it shouldn't work, but it does. But Shannon, to bring it back to your point, yeah, it's weird because I don't think anyone would call it a music festival because everybody goes for all kinds of reasons, but it's absolutely a music festival. And I dance like a white guy. Like I have mastered the moves of the land of Caucasia.
I can attest to that.
And so out there in the dark, I can dance my little heart out, and I don't have to worry about anybody seeing me because no one's paying attention. Like everybody's just having the best time of their life. So I go find music that feels good, and I dance until I can't dance anymore.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Dude, Clint and I went to the Texas Eclipse Festival last year in April in Texas.
This year, yeah, just this past year.
Yeah. And I don't know, like we had camp, and then at Camp Sonder, Camp Sonder, like thank you for being the most hospitable and awesome humans ever. Dude, I didn't know that there were so many of us and or like us, out there, and to have, and that experience, that was my first music festival experience in my life. And I've been keeping up with all the festivals like in my life, all the way from like Woodstock, like, and back to your point of the books doing the fire or whatever, like they were talking about like the ancient Romans and stuff, like Socrates and them guys were like, having festivals together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they would, for like a week, everybody would like, like give their keys to the key master or whatever they did. And they would go into a building and they would like probably not eat very much and sleep very much. But the whole time, like, a celebration would be ongoing without any boundaries, but also like, in a way that nobody is being taken from and everybody is bringing something to give that everybody could benefit from. Like, really.
Yeah. The divine potluck, man. Everybody brings something to the table and it's an amazing feast, right?
Dude, I mean, the Texas Eclipse Festival, like, I don't know, 40,000 people, 5 days. We got there a little bit before. Like every single, like all these like young people, like I met like I'm pretty sure like millionaire, like hippies and like CEO hippies and but what I mean by hippie is like, dude, these people aren't all like doing drugs. I mean, some of them could be.
It's
like,
happening. It's absolutely happening.
But these are, but what the majority of people that I like interacted with were just like wholesome people that had come together for the music. So any kind of like weirdness or something that might be considered unorthodox about music festivals inside the festival didn't even matter. But like also everybody was there to take care of each other and there was just no judgment. So it didn't matter either. Like when we were there, like I didn't see there was no theft. There was no violence whatsoever. There were no cops. There was no need for nothing happened bad.
Yeah.
The whole time it was just like everybody taking care of each other.
Yeah, typically the only thing that goes down as far as someone gets injured is literally accidental. Someone, there are some people who get a hold of substances that they don't know what it is, they don't know their own limits, and that can happen. Sometimes people just get drunk and trip, you know what I mean, and get hurt, or but these are just
there was an
natural things that can happen anyways, right?
there wasn't ill will for sure. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
There
Yeah,
Yeah.
was
yeah.
and there was no violence like that. To me, like 5 days, like I could leave like every single thing I had, like you know, which probably wasn't that much, but like nothing got stolen anywhere. Like
People
we
will bring
interacted
stuff
with a lot of
back to
people.
you. They'll go, "Hey, I think this is
Yeah,
yours. Here you go." It's pretty
like we
awesome.
had a buddy that like lost his pack of cigarettes like 20 times, and like I don't know, like 12 times, like people brought it back to him. Seriously, it was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Wow. You know,
Good people. And what's awesome about it, the what I love about the music festival is because the festival culture is this radical self-expression. So go out there, look wild, dye your hair, wear a tutu, whatever you want to do. Um, and what happens in that is you can't tell who someone is, right? You can only see this portrayal, right, of whatever they, oh, that's just a dude in a speedo and butterfly wings. You know what I mean? You don't realize that that might be a CEO, or it could be like a military commander, or it could just be a mechanic. It doesn't matter,
It
right? Like
doesn't.
everybody's just human. We're all on the same plane. We're all
No
just
judgment.
have fun and no judgment. Yeah, and it's just it's fantastic. And I think it's a really, like, especially, I would definitely encourage senior leaders. I know this sounds crazy, right? This is the, like what they call it, Shannon, the great beard of wisdom, but like, whatever. But if you're in a senior leadership position and you have thousands of employees, go to a festival. Go just break through and engage and remember what it's like to be with people. Remember what it's like to hang out. Remember what it's like to laugh. Remember what it's like to make some dumb decisions. Remember what it's like to just do all those things, because it will, from a leadership perspective, it will make you more aware and have a deeper level of compassion and more connected to everybody in your company, so that the decisions you make are supported by the people you made the decisions for.
yeah, I like that. I think that's a really good, thought and idea, because, you work in any sort of corporate place, or, anywhere with even like a dress code, everybody looks the same. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know, and you don't realize that these are a group of individuals,
Yeah.
who are coming together every day with individual thoughts and ideas
Important
and
ones.
feelings. And I think it's a good reminder, everybody's
Yeah.
different. You don't know what's under that white polo. You know what I mean? Like it could
Yeah. And
be,
we like it or not, this happens at almost, and the larger the company gets, the worse. But we do this. It's, the division. It's why I teach crack the code to end division. We segregate ourselves within these work communities. I've worked for companies where managers are told not to fraternize with anybody who's not a non-manager, like they're a different kind of human. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and we create these barriers. Or, the logistics team won't talk to the engineering team, or the sales team won't talk to the operations team, or, all this kind of stuff. And if you look, there's a book called The Power of Habit, and it talks about this London Underground fire. And one of the major reasons this happened is because of these divisions that were broken down between, like, the security staff didn't talk to the custodial staff, and they didn't talk to the maintenance staff. And so, like, there were all of these situations where that fire could have been stopped early on, prevented, and, saved massive amounts of damage, but it didn't happen because of the division. So when you come to an event like this, right, like, doesn't matter who you are, right? All of a sudden, all those mental paradigms of separation are meaningless.
I love that because been through so much, man, and a lot happened in book one of my life. And then to go to an event of that many people built overnight, my first and only music festival, I mean, to a degree, that Texas Eclipse Festival, it changed me forever, man. Like that many beautiful people that came with something to give, and nobody was trying to take anything. And we could all just be who we really are, and um, get high off each other's shine, and like
Yeah.
like I don't know, just be able to like to be able to be around so many people that were so free to be who they really are, which is who we really are anyway. People that
Yeah.
could be that honest with themselves and to be that free. It was liberating to be around that many people that were that tapped into themselves and or this whole crazy experiment of
Yeah.
human. Yeah.
Well, to take it kind of like, it'll feel like going away for a second, but then bring it back into the topic of music. I just say CEOs, senior leaders, go to a music festival. You don't have to go to a music festival. Go to a Dr. Joe Dispenza advanced meditation retreat for a week. You'll have the same experience. You're in a group of 1,500 people. Doesn't matter what role you are. I hung out with doctors, mystics, lawyers, medical practitioners. None of us cared. Didn't matter what clothes. We were just wearing whatever, some people were in suits, some people were in t-shirts and sweatpants. It didn't matter because we were all there for a purpose. And so it's more, I think, about get in the crowd. Go to a place where you're just a part of the crowd and you're there for a reason. But now to segue that back, even at the Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat, one of the most amazing things that they do is, so he'll come out and he'll teach for like about an hour and a half, and then he'll take like a break and then come back out and guide it through a meditation. But as he's coming back out, there's a DJ that starts to play like uplifting music. And so a lot of people, and I do it every time, like we go up to the front and we dance and like we just get that happy energy going and we start flowing good. And, we're just cheering. It was during one of these that we were about, I think, 4 to 5 days into the festival and everybody's cheering. And then all of a sudden, I just start to hear this kind of uproar off to the left, and I'm looking over and I can see the dancing crowds kind of building and people are cheering. So I'm like, of course, I'm like, well, what's going on over there? Right. Like, I want to go see. So I move over there. And there was this lady who had been confined to a wheelchair. I believe she had Parkinson's or something. I'm not certain what the condition was, but I know she'd been confined to the wheelchair and she was just, moving, right? And she saw this, and I guess she'd put her hands down and she decided. So for the first time, I think in 8 years, I found out later, she stood up, right? And someone held her hands and she was dancing because the energy of the dancing and the music. And so Dr. Joe actually, like, instead of coming out and starting his thing, he's just like, let it happen, right? And so we just did the music until she stood up and the whole place erupted and was cheering and supporting this woman as she's going through her healing journey. Like, you know what I mean? Go be a part of that crowd and see how it changes your leadership perspective.
I mean,
that's pretty powerful.
I've been to a couple of musical events at this point, and I've seen people, not like be healed at the music event, but just other people at the event helping them stand up and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, the coming together part of the music, like in the late 60s or whatever, all that like classic rock, like the anti-war stuff, like I love that, And then also think about this, like I graduated 1991, like Texas, like again, we were like one of the underground clubs. There was a club called the Lizard Lounge. I'm pretty sure it opened at like, I don't know, 11 p.m. or like 12 a.m. And like they had T-shirts that said the Lizard Lounge. It's 4 a.m. Do you know where your kids are? Like we'd sneak out the house and like go dancing and shit. Like break into neighborhood pool. Like everybody would like jump in and shit and like be up and ready to go to like school and then football practice or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, but the music part of it, like the whole time, like music connects us. It helps us cope. It helps us like focus or like get psyched or whatever, get our mind right and like get ready, And Clint, you and I do it all the time. Like we send each other music because I'll hear a song like, however, and that's another thing about music, like when you're listening, like we grew up when it was just radio, right? And like when you're driving down that road and you just hear like a certain song at a certain time, like that just would happen to come on at just the right time or whatever. Or even better, like you get into your car and like, turn it on and you have like a song playing in your head, you like sing it inside your head, and like you turn on the car and the music is playing, like almost like, I don't know if y'all have ever had that happen. Yes.
Yeah.
Listening, you're like,
yes,
what? It's my song.
Like what?
Yeah.
Music's there for a reason, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I grew up playing the cello. And then when I went to high school, we didn't have an orchestra. There was a band, but there was no orchestra. So everything that I wanted to do, I had to do around town. And thankfully in Tucson, there was like two great organizations for string players, outside of school. One of them was Tucson Junior Strings. You had to audition and work your way up. And if you got to the highest level, you would do gigs. You like my mom's hospital that she worked at hired us one time for like a doctor luncheon, or a bunch of 16-year-old kids over there playing our little repertoire of whatever. And they would pay us, and that money would go into the pot. And at the end of the year, we would take a big trip. So the first year I was in it, I made it to the top level. We went to Boston, and I'd
Nice.
never been to Boston before. Like I got to experience like a full week away from my family with just my friends and a couple chaperones. And we walked Boston. Like we did a
Nice.
little, we walked everywhere with our instruments. We played in front of some of these old churches, and we went to Berkeley and like the Boston College of Music, and like that was just like, such a cool experience. And then like the next year we did we did Seattle to Victoria and then Vancouver. My first time like outside of Mexico going to another country. Like that was a whole super cool thing. And then the year after that we did like another trip to Canada. And
Yeah.
like without that music and without that organization, like I never would have gotten to go to those places as a 16-year-old. You
I
know what I
love
mean? And I got to experience like a huge amount of independence, even though I was there with a bunch of other, 20 other kids my age. But like you're responsible for your meals, and you're responsible for managing your money, and you have to make sure you go to bed on time. And like, it was
you had
super
people
cool.
counting
And
on you.
music gave me that. Yeah.
You had people counting on you, and you guys together created something awesome that got like other people like inspired, or like they loved it. You know what I'm saying? So like there's a lot of important stuff going on there. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
leadership part of it. There's like I've been asked to do something that I can do really well because I practice so much and I'm good at it. And I've been asked to do it. Now they're counting on me. So, and I want to show up for them, and I want to show up for myself because I can do it. But I also want to be challenged. I want to be made better. And then, like, most importantly, for those listening, but like in my experience, making music with other people is like one of the most profound ways to like, I don't know.
Oh,
It's a
for
lot.
sure. It's the ultimate
It
team
is.
exercise.
It
It's not,
is.
passing the ball. And you are in a sense like passing the ball because you're passing like notes to other people to pick it up. Sometimes you're following, sometimes you're leading, sometimes you literally have to be in tune with the other players, and you would have to everybody's got to be on the same beat. You know what I mean? Like it is the ultimate, like you're all breathing and your hearts are all beating the same in that moment to just keep everything going and keep everything on
Yeah,
rhythm. And I
synchronicity.
think if kids have the opportunity to play in an orchestra or band or anything like that, it's the best
Totally.
experience you can give them. It hands down.
Totally. Grown up in Houston back in the day, and like punk rock and like oldies and honky tonk and stuff. I started listening to this band called the Reverend Horton Heat. Um, and it was super punk rock, but it was like just three people in the band, and one of them had like a stand-up bass. So it was like the singer
Yeah.
played the guitar, like there's a stand-up bass, and then there was a drummer. But anyway, the stand-up bass, like, and they would pack the place, and it was like punk rock kind of vibe. But like at the time, one of my favorite songs was "Living on the Edge of Living, on the Edge of Living, on the Edge of Houston." I don't know, the Reverend Horton Heat. But I mean the string part of it, like incorporating the strings into like everything. Some of the best music up to this very point. I mentioned Billy Corgan, the Smashing Pumpkins earlier. Like, did some of the best songs, like Alicia Keys, like on the piano. Like I love that, being able to blend all of the components of all the instruments, and
Yeah.
because there's a feeling of vibration back to the frequency, like the science behind like it all. Like bagpipes for me does something to me. I don't know, like some people hate it, but I don't know, does something to me.
Yeah.
And so did the,
Well,
so
and there's a lot of different instruments, and I think if I can just jump in on what you're saying there too, it's the symphony of the world. You know what I mean? I don't think we want the whole world to play the same song. Maybe for a few minutes, it'd be nice if we all joined in and played the same song for a couple minutes. But you need that variety. You need the bagpipes. You need the electric music. You need the strings. You need all this stuff. And everybody knowing what they can do, and then when you can bring it together and you can harmonize those elements together, it's more and more powerful, and it compounds upon itself, right? I think that's what you're kind of alluding to there, right?
totally.
Yeah.
But then like the coming together part of it, like I used to work in downtown Houston at this like really cool restaurant, and everybody would come in before and or after they went to see like a play and or a symphony. And I always went down there. It was right across the street, the Houston Symphony, and like just being able to feel that and what they were feeling, and have that component. Then also like late at night going down to the underground clubs and doing all that, and just the variety of the melody. You know what I'm saying? Because like if it's a freaking good song, like I'm pretty much about it. Like I have no shame. Like Katy Perry Roar, like sign me up. Like like that shit will
Right?
get fired up. Seriously. Like
Yeah.
I'm feeling that shit. For
I
real.
gotta admit, Halsey's my girl, man. Like Halsey
Oh,
Pink, I jam there. I'll jam it all day long. I'm like, go. They're just badass.
and
Yeah,
then
I love
also
Pink.
like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, Pink's good too, dude. And back in the '90s, like when it was just like mostly radio and like I don't know, I'm pretty sure we had CDs, but maybe we still had cassettes. I don't know, but Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails came out, like head like a hole, black as your soul. Like, dude, that was like a theme song in my soundtrack, like along with like the Eagles and Steve Miller Band, like who knows whoever, Lenny
Yeah.
Kravitz. Um,
Dude, when
but
when
and then
Johnny Cash did
that's
Hurt.
what I was about to say, dude.
Oh,
So
sorry, my bad.
Johnny Cash, dude, like one of my greatest heroes ever. I love music and I love Johnny Cash's music. Like I love Johnny Cash. Comes back around and identifies Trent Reznor's music, like the song
Yeah,
Hurt. And then
so cool.
also he did like Tom Petty. Like he did a tribute to like the other great musicians before he checked out. That was a
Yeah,
beautiful legacy, dude.
yeah, really,
And
really
that
was.
was such a polar opposite kind of thing, but in a weird way, like because Johnny Cash started with the light, then he came off the rails. Like I know all about this, and then like got back with the light. Um, Trent Reznor did too. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
totally different cultural, I mean, scenarios, but same exact story. And so for Johnny Cash to be able to recognize that through music, uh, led to him giving that honor to Trent Reznor. Like, dude, I don't know. Like to me, like that's freaking cool stuff,
yeah,
dude. And the fact that
yeah.
you brought it up, even cooler.
Yeah, totally. I knew that one. It makes me think, right? You know, we've been talking about crack the code to music or whatever. Like, so, what have we discovered? If I could have a message out there for leaders that listening to this, like, just hear this. Music affects us in a lot of different ways. It's a big part of our life. You know, what kind of music do your employees like? Right? Just know that. Don't judge it. Right? Just understand what are the jams. Check their music out. Can you listen to it? Can you make a connection? Can you share the things that you love? You know what I mean? And get people together in that way. It brings us together. Bring alive
Yeah,
humanity.
letting your employees listen to music too is huge. There have been a couple places that I've worked where you couldn't listen to any music, not quietly at your desk, not on headphones, and it's like it almost just ruins the job because you're just sitting there doing your mundane typing or whatever, and you need a soundtrack to your life. You listen to the music in the car when you drive back and forth, or
Yep.
Like you're like, hell
you
yeah. You're listening to it, you're like,
Yeah.
exactly
like
like
yeah, you need that. Like why would employers or anyone not want that? You know what I'm saying?
Look,
Like,
man,
you see,
if the guy in the cube next to me puts his AirPods in, puts on some EDM music, and 30 minutes later I'm typing and he's over there like just dancing because the bass dropped and he's feeling it, I don't care. I'm gonna be like, "What's up, dude?" You know, keep rocking on, like,
stay in your
feel
own lane.
good
Yeah,
because you want that energy in the workplace. You want that
totally.
happy energy, right?
The ability to be who you really are. Dude, I have to have music playing all the time, dude. I just always do. I mean, actually, I
Yeah,
don't right now. It's kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie. But
yeah,
like somebody recently told me I should like listen to more podcasts, which I have and I've benefited from. But I almost have to listen to podcasts with music playing. Because I need the damn music for like because I can help regulate my like just I don't know if it's scientifically like the actual frequency of the like audio shit hitting my body or if it's the message and or everything. I don't know, but like I just seem to feel better when shit comes on that makes me like hell yeah, like
yeah. But and I think
Yeah.
also too, it just came to mind. If for me, when I was dealing with a lot of stress in leadership roles, changing the music, starting going and finding some new music, I think it helps you get unstuck a little bit too. Like start a new chapter, and choose what it's about. I'm sorry, Shan, I think I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, even, with our kids, Elliot has learned this, a couple of years ago, but like cleaning her room or doing her chores, she's got music going on all the time now. She's that kid with her earbuds in a good chunk of the day now,
Yeah,
listening to whatever she's feeling at the moment, whether it's the Taylor Swift soundtrack or Taylor Swift or it's the Hamilton soundtrack or whatever's feeding her for the day. But Castle, who's 8, for the first time, what was it, yesterday? Like
yeah,
it dawned on him to play music while he was cleaning his room. And
yeah.
and he was like, "It's so much better that I can put on my favorite song and just listen
Yep.
to it over and over again. And then my room cleaning's not so bad."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, I think like what you're saying, like I get it. If your job required you to hear something specifically, then it wouldn't work. But you know what? Now, I mean, the AirPods and a lot of the Bluetooth accessories have like what's called a transparency mode. I do this when I go walking, right? I put it on, I put the music on, but I put transparency mode on so I can hear cars coming up behind me. And that way, I don't, I'm not, walking slow in the middle of the road. There's a car hanging out behind me and up near it, or if there's an ambulance or whatever, I can still hear the whole world around me. So even with your earpods in, it's not like you're tuning out from the world. You can still hear everything that's going on around you. One of the guys I worked with loved, his name was Ruben. He had this thing that went around his neck that it just projected noise up toward him. And it was weird. If you were standing next to him, you couldn't even hear his music. But for him, it was like he was living in his own little private concert and he didn't have his earpods on.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was super, super cool, man. It's just amazing technology out there that makes it easier. Also, I want to real quick just, we're building the Evolving Mindsets community for leaders and for creators. So leaders can come and find tips and information that helps them become better leaders, but also get connected to creativity. So that creators can also come in where there are professional leaders and they can learn business and they can learn, because those two groups of people have so much that they can learn from each other. But I want to speak specifically to the creators and encourage you, come join the community. If you have dreams of, being on YouTube, making music, whatever it is, come share it with us. I know sometimes you can make stuff and you throw it out there on the internet. Nobody likes it. Nobody does anything because the internet's so just overwhelmed with content that a lot of times people aren't seeing it. And if you're not in the right algorithm, you're not going to get noticed and stuff. But if there's something you're really passionate about, we have spaces that we can share this stuff in, whether it's writing poetry, writing stories, making videos, if you want to do something that's funny, or if you want to do music, whatever it may be, come in with us, right? And look, I'm in there. I'm learning how to write, and so I like to share my writing and stuff. And albeit this is brand new, so we're still building out some of this stuff, but it's all in the works and it's all manifesting as we speak, right?
no, I
Yeah,
love that. And go ahead, Shannon.
no, go ahead, Shane. It's all right.
I mean, in the Call of Duty, we have like things that we all can do really awesome. Like Shannon's played classical music. Like, I mean, I love to dance, which also goes back to music. I mean, I can play the trumpet and like the piano and like, I don't know. I like to dance. And, but music, like, definitely brings us all together. And I also think that it's something that we can, put on to help facilitate the most optimal outcome of our day. I don't know, like probably one of the most important things, like in my like psychological like well-being like book,
Yeah.
like what I listen to really defines my life. Whether it's
It's
like,
one of the easiest quick fixes you can give
no, it
yourself
is.
for the day. You know what
Yeah,
I
like
mean? Like,
literally I have to hit next often sometimes.
yeah, I
Like
do that too
my
sometimes.
yeah, my playlist like constantly evolves.
Yeah. I'm a big repeater. Like I find a song that
I do too.
it'll like strike a chord with me and just like I'm like, oh man, that feels exactly like how I want to feel right now. And I will put that song on repeat and I will literally play it all
I will
day
too.
long.
It
And I'm
pisses
never
everybody
getting
off.
tired of it. Like Shannon's nodding her head. She's like, oh God, yeah.
Yes,
Doesn't it? It
it is
pisses
like,
everybody
oh
off.
my
I do the
God.
same thing. Dude, people are like 3 days later, like, dude, do you still have the same song on? Like, maybe. Like, no, turn it off. Turn it off.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
seriously.
like again, like it'll be like a week every time I walk into a
No.
office
I
or
love
wherever.
that.
It's like again, okay, here we go again. Like
We're
I get it,
doppelgangers,
it's a
dude.
great song, but like,
We are total
yeah, I
doppelgangers.
can't do
Yeah.
that.
Like
Yeah,
No,
Wonder Twin.
if it strikes the chord with me, I'm milking it as much as I can. I love it. Yeah. It's all
Yeah,
I
about
was
no, I do
reading a
feeling
thing
too.
the
good.
other day that said your music tastes go stagnant once you hit about 42. So most people will not like any new music that's introduced to them after that point. Excuse me.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, and I think maybe for some people that's the case, but I read that fact and I was like, "Oh no, I can't be one of those
Dude,
people."
like, I'm pretty
Like
sure,
at
like,
all.
Yeah. I feel
I'm
like
pretty sure, like,
maybe we are the only three anomalies.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure, like, Snoop Dogg will be playing at my funeral, like, and I don't know, like, maybe a little Bach, and but probably like some of the new music, the electronic music that's coming out. I mean, really, like the most inspiring music of all uh, is like something that I'm always open to, and I always want to be about. And like, it's cool that we do have the classics, and
Yeah.
but and that's what's cool about the music festivals too. Is like everybody's there, just like I don't care who you are, like even if you don't particularly reside in certain genres, like if the genre of music is good, uh, if you appreciate good music, the genre doesn't matter. I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, like I noticed like when the YouTubers started doing a lot of covers, people were really upset about people cover. Oh, it'll never be as good as the first one. And I think it goes back to that first time you heard a song, it has that significant memory. So if you hear someone else singing it, it feels like a violation of it. But you know what? There's so many songs where I've seen YouTubers cover where the songs they're better, their version's better than the original, right? Depending on the song. And some songs are classic enough that it doesn't seem like anybody's ever going to be able to nail it or do anything better with it. But there's more and more music. But like I think about like I have favorite artists I know of right now that I've only came out in the past couple years, like Lily Miola, Daphne Willis. God, there's so many. Soul Rising, DJ Taj Rashid. Like just more and more music and coming out, and like I've been working with some artists who are coming up, and they're intimidated by the amount of music coming out. They're like, oh, there's so much music coming out, and there's so many artists, like, should I put anything? Yes, you should. You should absolutely go do it, because there's so much music coming out. Be part of that. Be part of that music that's coming out, and find your fan base, because if you've got a great voice and you've got some talent, or the skill and will to practice and produce it because it's in your heart, just go for it, right? Just keep going for it. Keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be like, if, there's a band, Seether. They came out of a small town I lived in Beaumont. Like, I remember when that band was developing. I see your hand up, Shannon. I remember when that band was developing, they had to go play little bars and gigs, and it was hard to get a start. And then, next thing you know, they're mainstream. Like, believe me, it was harder 20 years ago to produce something than it is for people to create today. Like, you can just get a guitar and a camera and turn it on YouTube and go. Now, will you get the saturation? Can you get that market? Can you find that your place in the flow where your fans can start to get to you? That can be a little challenging, right? And it takes a little bit of time. Sorry, go ahead, Shannon. What did you have?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, a good way to support people who are like putting out music, and maybe they don't have like a big fan base, is, I know Spotify, I'm pretty sure Spotify has a section of songs that have never been played before on Spotify that has 0 views, and like, you can literally just go cruise and listen to these songs that nobody's ever listened to on Spotify before, and add them to your playlist.
Used to work with a dude. But you and I used to work with a dude that whose wife created music, and he would let us know, like, and she would get paid off of like how many likes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there's all of that, but then there's the part of it all that transcends all of that part. You know what I'm saying? Like, our life's work, like, like Van Gogh didn't care if he like became famous or rich. He just wanted to produce one piece of work before he passed, which he did. One piece.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be able to correct me there, but I'm pretty sure that's and so it's that legacy to me, like, really the thing that matters above and beyond every single thing. But then also, like, my son reminds me always, and like, he taught himself how to play guitar and play it so good, dude. And I'm like, stop doing like covers, like create your own music. But I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's been good. The good conversation. I feel like we, touched a lot about this. Music's definitely important, and it's got a big role in our lives. I think it's good to understand it. I think it's good for a person to check, and what are you feeling when you're listening to that song, and I think that's probably my biggest tip for people in general, is just, if you're struggling emotionally, right, find some music that helps you get out of that mood, right? And have a magic playlist that you put on that gets you excited, gets you ready to exercise, gets you out of that bad mood, helps you focus, whatever it is. Utilize it. We have more tools and capacity to harness the power of music, and leaders need to consider that too, and understand that relationship and the connection it has for us. Shannon, I know you had shared a quote earlier. I think I would love to hear you to share that quote again. And I know it's not specifically related to music, but it feels pertinent.
Yeah, it's not specifically rated. It's a quote by Victor Hugo. It says, "No force on earth can stop an idea whose time has come."
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think especially you can see that in music, right? It's beautiful. Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah.
Definitely music, but on any front, on any endeavor, when the intention is most righteous, you know what I mean? Like, you get like a little special, like, you have angels looking over you when you're like doing what's best for the most, and especially also doing what you're supposed to do. Like, we're kind of like there's like a message in our bottle, or you know, and we're supposed to like do our thing, you know, because there's people that need that thing to be done. And good music is one of those things that people have done that has helped us keep going, you know, and also like helped us to relate to certain things in our past and or our experience. But you know, to keep focus on the good music and use that as a reason to celebrate and to fill in the spaces and to playing in the background. Like, I don't care if I'm in the chain gang or what up. I'm dancing and I got music playing and or I'm singing. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Music's
So you're right. Singing too is good. I was just thinking earlier while we were talking, you know, I felt like I was pushing myself too hard and I'm rushing everything. So I literally started singing Alabama's I'm in a hurry to get things done song, just as a reminder to myself that like, I just need to slow down. Like it can be very powerful, but, you know, Shannon, do you have anything else to add? Otherwise, maybe we can let Shane close us out with another poem.
Yeah, that sounds good. I don't think I have anything else at the moment.
All right. What do you got for us?
it's called The River. As I'm drifting down the river, my eyes explore the banks of the ever-changing scenery. God, I bid you thanks for this journey that you've given us, so that we may learn some truth through this experience, the knowledge that we yearn. And even be there rapids or the deadly undertow, we will always remain sailing atop of fate's strong flow, while avoiding tribes of cannibals whom wish to shrink our heads, waiting on their shores to feed on us, but don't you know instead, and our schooners will pass waving, they'll await another meal, as we drift on by so safely in our boats stronger than steel, drifting gently upon passion, ebbing intensity, gliding on in one direction towards the exit at the sea.
Oh man, it's beautiful, dude.
That was awesome.
Yep.
It's music to my ears.
Nice. I
Right?
just play the guitar or something, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
music.
Music to my ears, man. Beautiful. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening in and hanging out with us. We'll be back again. We're going to try to get an episode to drop every 2 weeks, if all works out well. So be patient as we get all that working. Love your feedback. Love your comments. You know, let us know what you want to hear more of. If you have any questions, leaders out there, if you have any topics you want us to cover, let us know. And also feel free to stop in. We're kind of in an early access period for the Evolving Mindsets community. That's at www.evolving-mindsets.com. You can find links in the YouTube description, or hopefully the descriptions of the little clips and stuff, reels and shorts, and Instagram. But we're here. We love you, and we're looking forward to seeing y'all. Have a great evening.
Find your path, gonna lead the way. Stride through the storm, never go astray. Always the truth and let your spirit roar. You're a force of nature, crash upon the shore.